To conclude with the cryptography section, we will talk about digital certificates. Digital certificates, you have probably encountered that multiple times before without knowing what's happening. So digital certificates or a digital certificate is a digital file that proves the authenticity of a website, of a computer, of a system. Remember, we talked about authenticity in digital signatures, and we said this is the way to show that a message or something comes from the original source. And that's because it's signed with a private key. So in the same way with a digital certificate, you can confirm the authenticity of a website or a computer. Think of it as someone's driver's license. When they show their driver's license, they're proving who they say they are. In the same way, a digital certificate is a website proving who they say they are. And it contains information such as the name, the period of validity, the public key, just like your driver's license contains your name, your date of birth, and when it expires and more. So for any website, you can view the digital certificate. For example, here you have Amazon.com. If you have a Mac and on Windows, on Windows systems is pretty similar. You click here on the view site information, connection is secure, and then certificate is valid. If you click here, you can see general information about the certificate, when it was issued, when it expires, the public key information. And if you click on details, you can have even more information like the serial number, whoever issued the certificate, the period of validity when it expires, it will be renewed, the public key, and a few more information right here. So that's a digital certificate, and it's issued by a trusted entity known as a certificate authority. So this is a trusted entity that issues digital certificates. Certificate authority, just like with your driver's license, you go to the DMV to get a driver's license. And websites use certificates to establish secure connections. So whenever you see the HTTPS sign with the column and the forward, the two forward slashes, that's to show a secure connection. Certificates can be revoked. So if the period of validity ends, for example, the one we just saw, or if the organization was involved in fraud, the certificate can be revoked. Now, a certificate is provided by a CA, very important acronym. A CA is Certificate Authority. This is a trusted entity whose primary function is to issue digital certificates. So they play a critical role by establishing trust on the internet, and they provide a platform for secure communication. It's just like the DMV that distributes driver's licenses. You have a certificate authority that distributes certificates and makes sure that entities can trust each other without ever communicating, prior. Just like when you go to Amazon.com, you trust Amazon.com because you see the HTTPS and the column symbol. So you trust that it's a secure website, and you see here connection is secure. So that's because there is a certificate authority in the middle that takes care of all of that. Now, there are different types of certificates, and we will talk about that. So let's summarize the certificate concept. First, you have certificates. What is a certificate? It's a digital document that binds a public key to an entity, usually a website. It can be a device, it can be more, but generally when we talk of a certificate, we usually think of a website. A certificate authority is an entity responsible for issuing digital certificates. So you have multiple certificate authorities that are quite well known that websites or owners rely on. That's a certificate authority. A certificate signing request, it's a request sent to the certificate authority to apply for a certificate. Just like when you go to the DMV and you fill out the forms to get your driver's license, you can send a CSR, a certificate signing request, to a certificate authority to request for a certificate, and then they will verify a few things and give you a certificate. A certificate revocation list, CRL. Certificate revocation list, this is a list containing the certificates that have been revoked. So you have a CRL like that, it looks something like that. If your certificate has been revoked, then sometimes if you've seen that before, you get on the website, and you'll see something like connection is not private, and then you have the reason right here. Error certificate has been revoked, and a few more text right here. So that's a CRL, very important acronym, CRL, Certificate Revocation List. This is just like, the DMV giving you the list of revoked driver's licenses, probably to a policeman. Now, a very similar concept is the OCSP, which is the Online Certificate Status Protocol, OCSP. This is similar to a CRL, but here, the certificates that are revoked are shown in real time. So just to show the difference, this is just like a policeman arresting you, or pulling you over on the road, and your driver's license is expired. With the CRL, he would ask for the DMV. He will go to the DMV, look for the list of revoked driver's licenses, and then before coming back to arrest you. With the OCSP, he has the list in real time in his car, and he sees which certificates are revoked. So OCSP certificates revoked in real time. CRL is the list, but it's not always in real time. You have self-signed certificates. Here, the entity signs its own certificate instead of obtaining it from a certificate authority. So here, you sign your own certificate. For example, this one issued to remote.contoso.com and issued by themselves. So it's usually for internal purposes. And for example, here, if you go to this domain, you will see the security certificate was not issued by a trusted certificate authority. And sometimes you can mention that it was signed by the own entity. So that's a self-signed certificate. A root of trust is the ultimate source of trust in the PKI. So it's the very first authority, is the root of trust, the ultimate source of trust, who grants certificates to child entities. And then you have a concept called Wildcard Certificate. The wildcard ensures that the domain and all the subdomains are secure, all have public and private keys. For example, a wildcard of star.google.com will secure all the Google children certificates, like the wildcard certificates, like the mail.google.com for Gmail, drive.google.com for Google Drive, maps.google.com, etc. So you have here mail.google.com, drive.google.com, docs for Google Docs, Earth, and a lot more. That's a wild card. So instead of purchasing certificates for Drive and Mail and Google Earth and Docs, you can purchase one wild card and have all of them underneath. So those are examples of certificates. You have a CRL, OCSP, CSR. These are important acronyms. And let's summarize all of these concepts of cryptography. So first, we started with symmetric encryption. What's symmetric encryption? The sender and the recipient share the same private key. It should never be shared with anyone. It should always be kept private. Asymmetric encryption uses two keys. One is public, another one is private. If one is used to encrypt, the other will be used to decrypt, and vice versa. The public and private keys, with public key, it's a key known to everyone that you can see. For example, here on Amazon, you can see their public key right here, but the private key should never be known, should never be shared. Hashing is a concept that transforms data into a fixed size. It's irreversible, and it's usually used to store passwords. Digital signature is a way to prove the authenticity and the integrity of a website, of a system, of a device. The PKI is the system that manages cryptography, the public keys and the private keys. And finally, a digital certificate is a file that proves the authenticity of a server and of a user. So with that, that's the end of domain 1 on the security concepts, and we will proceed to domain 2. Thank you for your attention, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more tips, more videos, and to show your support. And also follow us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook for more updates and tips. Thank you for your attention.